Hey everyone, I got another comic book haul for you guys today. This one is from the Nashville McKays. McKays is a used book and media store that me and my girlfriend mostly shop at in Chattanooga that just have great deals, dumb cheap prices on comics. For example, I found like the first appearance of Gore the God Butcherer for $2 over there. So there's always a chance to find really good stuff if you dig around in the boxes for long enough. And we were in Nashville with a family to see the ice event at the Gaylord Opryland Hotel, and me and my girlfriend, the next day before going home, decided to stay around Nashville for a while. And one of the places we stopped was the McKays down there, and they had more comics than any of the other McKays I've been to combined. They had a whole long ass aisle of stuff on top of tables and then below the tables. These are only from the top of the table, like on the table. So I didn't get to fully look at everything, but it's fine. We only had so much time to be in Nashville before we had to head back. So my girlfriend was kind enough to at least let me spend quite a long time looking through these comics there. So let's get into it. The first book we had today is Azrael Volume 2, Number 2, written by Fabian Nicieza, and art by Ramon Box. So, Azrael's a pretty cool character. I like him a lot. I have really just gotten some of the older stuff. His series is really easy to find in these boxes for really cheap, and I just like his design. That's pretty much what drew me into him. And I've heard a few people say they don't like this redesign from this volume 2 with the all white. I really like it. Almost more than the original. I can't say more, but it's pretty close. But I'm collecting as much Azrael as I can, just because I want to read this character. I think he looks really awesome, and I know I've read a little bit. I really liked what I read so far, so it's just kind of spiraled me. He's kind of the character I chose to get me back into DC, and hopefully that was a good decision. Only paid 90 cents for this. Like I said, stupid good prices over at McKay's. But that's Azrael number 2. Next, we've got Catwoman, When in Rome, chapter 5, or number 5. Written by Jeff Loeb, art by Tim Sale, one of my favorite creative teams of all time. They did Batman The Long Halloween. They did the Marvel Color series like Hulk Gray, Spider-Man Blue, Captain America White. Just every single thing they touch is gold to me. And this is one of those series that's eluded me. After I read The Long Halloween, I wanted to get their follow-up DC series like Batman Dark Victory and this Catwoman When in Rome. And this is the first one I've ever found. I was so excited to find this, and it was worth paying the $3.50 I found it for. Easy pickup. When I saw it, I almost started jumping up and down. I was so excited. Not too big into Catwoman. I think she's a really cool character, but I don't know too much about her. I don't know too much about a lot of DC characters, but when I found this in there, it was a must-buy, immediate grab. There was no questions. Next, as you probably saw in my last video, Giant Killer. I really want to start reading these books. The art is just incredible inside of them. The monster designs are really cool. The main character right here, who I was talking about in the last video, but they didn't have he wasn't on the cover, so now I can show off why I think this character looks so cool. Written and drawn by Dan Brereton. One day I'll learn how to pronounce his name correctly, but as for right now, it's still going to get butchered. I love when creators on a book is just one person. I love when there's just one person working on a book. And, yeah, super excited to read these when I finally get the chance, and I'm going to search for the other stuff he's done. I think he's got something called, like, maybe it's called the Supernaturals. I just found it out the other day, but I want to start looking for those too. Although I got a feeling they're going to be harder to find. And I got these for 75 cents a piece. So there's number 2. And then this one on the Key Collector app, it listed as number 0. But this one says, Giant Killer A to Z, a field guide to big monsters. And when I open the book, it's like a source book for all the different monsters in there. It gives you a ton of information, which is super cool. It gives me like Rampage Total Destruction from the GameCube vibes, or any of the old Godzilla fighting games, which is really nostalgic for me. I just love a lot of big monsters with lore, like silly lore and really cool designs. That's really all it takes to win me over in most cases. This is only a 6-issue miniseries, so I think I found a good chunk of it, enough to where I could start reading it, which I will. I'll probably start with this issue number 0 and then go 1 and 2, and then try to find number 3, 5, and 6. So hopefully I find those in the wild eventually. But for now, Giant Killer, number 0. Next, Green Lantern Rebirth, number 1. Written by Jeff Johns, art by Ethan Van Sciver. I got a few of these issues. I paid 90 cents a piece for them. My buddy Ryder actually gave me a free copy of this that he got from his grandma and his grandpa. If he wants it back now, he can have it. It was just a little beat up, and I found this copy, which was in really nice condition, for 90 cents. I found all of these Green Lantern Rebirth issues for 90 cents. So, great little find here. That's number 1, before I keep spouting information about it. Here's number 3. I've always really liked Green Lantern as a character. When I was young, I was in like the Jeff Johns era of the Green Lantern books, along with like the New Guardian series they had going on, and the Green Lantern Corps Volume 2 series they had going on, which I believe I mentioned that in the last video as well. So I'm trying to piece them together. This kicks off the Blackest Night series, which is another one I really liked as a kid. And it brought back Hal Jordan as a good guy. Recently, he, well, before this, I think he was considered a bad guy. He was killing off all the Green Lantern Corps, from what I remember. Here's number 4 with Green Arrow, which, gotta be honest, I am not a Green Arrow fan whatsoever. I know a lot of people really like that character. More of a Hawkeye guy, and I'm not even that big of a Hawkeye guy. Just the Robin Hood character, just not my thing. Maybe there'll be a run I hear really good things about that'll make me want to check out this character. But as for right now, not my favorite DC character. Hawkeye's not my favorite Marvel character, so I got plans to read a Hawkeye run. I've got a few Hawkeye runs that I plan on reading, but as of right now, we're gonna move on. Vigilante number 47, written by Paul Cooperberg on all of these. The art on this one, however, is Todd Smith. Vigilante's a really fun character in the Peacemaker show. I really enjoyed the Peacemaker show, and Vigilante was by far my favorite character. I heard he's different in the comics, but that's okay. Still gonna read him, still gonna collect him. It was enough to make me want to collect all the Vigilante stuff. He has just something about him that draws me to the character, kind of like how Deadpool and Moon Knight draw me to them in Marvel, or Azrael drew me into DC a little bit. But yeah, really cool cover. Batman's probably gonna whoop Vigilante's ass in this issue, and he probably deserves it. I don't know too much about the comic character version of it, or the actual comic version of this character. Number 48. I got all of these issues for 75 cents each, so I wasn't going to pass up on that. They had a few other ones that were more than $1. And with the stack that I have today, I just passed on those and got the ones I could find for cheap that I didn't have. But it's really great to fill out this run. I almost have every issue of this, and these were great run fillers toward the end of the series. These are like some of the last few issues of the series, and Speaking of which, this next one is the last issue of Volume 5, or Volume 1, kind of a key. Cool cover, I like that cover a lot. Apparently this is the, spoiler warning, I guess, but this is the quote-unquote death of Vigilante, which a death of any comic book character isn't really the death of them for the most case. It might be the case that there's going to be more versions of him, like the Vigilante mantle is going to be picked up by someone new, which is always the case, but the character never really dies. But really cool cover. Really glad I found these. Next, moving on to the independent stuff. We've got Savage Dragon number 10, written and drawn by Eric Larson. Paid 75 cents each for these. My dog's scratching at the door downstairs, so sorry if y'all can hear that. Y'all most likely can. Written and drawn by Eric Larson, great comic book creator, one of the founders of Image Comics. This was his main comic series that he's still doing to this day. Started in the 90s and still going strong in the 2020s. So he's got, I think, well over 200 issues. I think he's close to 300-ish. But something about this character just draws me into him. I've been collecting him. There's some really, I know the print run gets lower and lower as it goes on, so it's harder to find some of the issues later on in the run. But either way, when I find them for this cheap, which I don't know if I've said already, I got these for 75 cents. I'm pretty sure I did, just to repeat in case you forgot. But there was number 10, and then here's number 15. Savage Dragon flying at the reader or the bad guy. AR pointed right at him. I'm pretty sure an AR won't do anything to him. Great character though, Dragon Cop, just really cool. It's not like the coolest concept ever, but something about it works so well. It's pretty badass when you actually get to reading it. And I was excited to find these. When I find them for cheap, which sometimes I do, definitely gonna pick them up. But Savage Dragon number 15. Next, on to Marvel. We've got Alpha Flight number 3 from Volume 2, written by Steven Seagal. I think that's Seagal. That'd be really funny if Steven Seagal wrote this. But art by Scott Clark. Paid 75 cents for this. Like Alpha Flight as a team, they're like Canada's X-Men. They're just like a government team. They're like they're a cool twist on what a team book is. I think they were very original when they came out. I'm sure wasn't alive for that, but I can only assume that it was pretty original and cool. Favorite of the team is Guardian, which is the leader of the team. Never usually fans of the leader of the team. I like more niche heroes, but Guardian is by far the coolest to me. Puck's also really cool. This is Guardian, by the way, right here. That's Puck. Not sure who these two are. A close second favorite is Sasquatch, though. I do really like Sasquatch. Paid 75 cents for this, and I now have every issue of this volume besides number 17, which is going to be really hard to find for cheap, considering that it's the first appearance of the Big Hero 6, which there's a whole movie based on them that Disney produced, so you never really hear much from them in like the grand scheme of like the actual Marvel comic universe, but maybe they should introduce them more. I have no clue what that team's about or any of their members. I know Sunspot's a part of it, the original one. Not Sunspot, I'm blanking on his name. Really cool character, though. I wish I could remember. But Alpha Flight Volume 2, number 3. Next. Beta Ray Bill, God Hunter, number 2. Punching the absolute shit out of Silver Surfer. This is written by Kieran Gillen, who I believe did Once and Future, which is another series I'm trying to collect right now that I've heard really great things about. He also did, I believe, the most recent Eternals run, which was something I have all the issues of and have not read yet. I found them for cheap also, out and about. I paid 90 cents each for these 2 issues. If I could have found number 1, I would have been ecstatic because I actually have these 2 issues already. But I only paid 90 cents for these. And number 2 is worth $10. And number 3 is worth $18, which are the 2 I found in here. So it was a no-brainer to pick them up for that cheap. And not to mention, I'm going to get this one out of the way. Put up number 3, where he's flexing on Galactus. Pretty sure I had this up in the wall back here at one point for the videos. But Beta Ray Bill's one of my absolute favorite Marvel characters. Especially, well, purely, honest to God, but because of the Daniel Warren Johnson run, which came out 2 years ago. I have no sense of time, so I'm not exactly sure or can't remember when that came out, but it was such a good series. It made me fall in love with a character I had no idea about, just besides the fact that he looked pretty cool. And since then, I've just been collecting everything Beta Ray Bill. So far, not read any of them besides the Daniel Warren Johnson run, but believe me, that's going to change. I will eventually have read everything with Beta Ray Bill in the title. Next, Captain America Volume 5, Number 2. If you've seen my other videos, you know that this volume of Captain America is one that I'm trying to collect. It's written by Ed Brubaker, who did he did Immortal Iron Fist, which is the main thing that I've read by Ed Brubaker, but it left a huge impact on me wanting to read his other books. The art is by Michael Lark and Steve Epting for this issue. They're both artists in both of these issues. It's always cool to see a merging of artists in each issue. I know the Punisher run by Jason Aaron did that. They kind of had like a... In the present day moment, it was one artist, and in the flashback scenes, it was a completely different artist with a completely different style, but it really puts you... it fit the tone very well, I should say. But it's been harder to find these earlier issues too, so super excited to find these. And then number 3, Captain America and whoever that is fighting off what I can only assume to be Hydra or AIM agents. I think they were in yellow, so it's probably AIM. But yet again, another early issue of the series that I now have. Number 2 and 3 in a row for so cheap. Great to be able to find those. So Captain America number 3. Next, Cosmic Powers Unlimited, issue 2, written by Gregory Wright and Barry Dudder, art by Scott Eaton and Dave Hoover. So you got a 4-piece on here. I paid 90 cents for this comic, but it was actually polybagged on the backside with another comic, which was... The other comic is the reason that I bought this issue. So you'll see that one later in the haul, because everything in my videos is usually alphabetical. And was like, man, there's another 2 books that were grouped together as well. I got them for really cheap as well. So, bang for your buck, 2 for 1. I do like the Silver Surfer, so I wasn't just going to put it up. And Beta Ray Bill's on the cover, so I really wasn't going to put it up. And Quasar too. I don't know. He feels like Marvel's Green Lantern, so I don't know too much about him. Next, Defenders, Volume 2, Number 4. Written by Kurt Busiek and Eric Larson. Art by Ron Friends and Scott Hanna. I've been collecting these because Namor is part of the team, and Namor is another one of my favorite characters. And thus I have went on I've been looking for Defenders titles, and it makes it really hard to collect Namor, by the way, because of how many teams he's on. A lot of the characters I collect, they're not usually associated with teams, but if I find out they are, I usually go after them. And Defenders have a lot of series, so it makes it a little harder to come across all of them. And the cover is also by Eric Larson, which, you know, he writes Savage Dragon, but people mainly, I believe, known him as an artist, and he does the cover art on this issue, and it's kind of strange seeing him not write or to not draw something that he drew the cover of in his writing. But either way, glad I found this. It was just 25 cents, so had to pick it up. Defenders number 4. Next, Exiles number 46, written by Tony Bedard, art by Mizuki, oh my god, another really hard to pronounce last name, Sakakibara. I don't think that's right, but it's a cool team book. Started off collecting these after yet another recommendation from Comic Book Herald's website. He made a list of really great Marvel titles, and this is one of them. And I do like a lot of these characters. Well, I really like Morph, and I really like Blink. But Nocturne seems really cool, and then Mimic also seems really cool. But that looks like Wendigo, but I can't tell. He seems like a good guy in these. So excited to eventually check that team out. And I just paid 50 cents for these. Then we got another one with a that can't be Nocturne, because it's clearly like a Namora or something. I'm not sure who that character right there is, but honestly, a great cover. Morph and Blink are floating in the water. Sure, they're not dead. The book would probably end if they were, but cool cover. Like it. Very reminiscent of a Namor cover. Then number 48, get another Nocturne cover. She must be a fan favorite. I don't know much about her. I think she's Nightcrawler's daughter from like a different universe. So, pretty cool. And just happy to fill in this little gap in my collection. Next, Fantastic Four 1, 2, 3, 4, number 4. I love the Fantastic Four. I collect some series of it when I can, mainly like the Jonathan Hickman or the Jack Kirby, Stan Lee stuff. But every now and then I'll try to collect more of them. There's another person who worked on a really famous Fantastic Four run that I can't remember off the top of my head, and I don't know which issues they've done yet, so that's eventually going to go in my CLZ app. I know I do have quite a bit of issues from their run, but I only paid 90 cents for this, and the reason I picked up this one in particular is the absolute powerhouse of a creative team. You got Grant Morrison, considered to be one of the greatest comic writers of all time, I'd say. And then Jay Lee, an artist who I really enjoy his art. He has done some of my favorite covers for Something Is Killing the Children. He did an Inhumans run, which I've heard a lot of good stuff about. And he did the one of my childhood favorite series, the Batman and Robin series. No, that was Frank Wiley. That wasn't Jay Lee. I know I've read something with Jay Lee's art in it that I really, really liked. But, yeah, definitely worth picking up for so cheap. Next, Get Fury, #1. I am a huge Nick Fury fan. And this was one I was going to collect as it came out. But, the comic shop that I go to, it didn't come in. So I had to either wait for it, or, which I was going to, but then it never came in. And the other issues were like piling up, and they were like, do you want #2 or #3? And I was like, I don't have #1, so maybe I can find them for cheap if I'm really lucky. And I was really lucky. I got this for 25 cents. You know, new comics are expensive nowadays, and not all of them are hits. And I usually don't care. But to get a $4 book for 25 cents, that's a steal. You gotta get it, especially if it fills in. Some people, I in particular, collect around characters. So if I really like a character, I will try to get everything that has that character either in the title or is mainly about them. And this is no exception. Love Nick Fury, mainly because Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, which is something I'm sure probably not a lot of you know of, but it was one of my favorite comics growing up. I actually have #1, which is, I have most of the issues, but #1 is a key because it's Nick Fury's first appearance. So, really special character in my heart. This one is written by Garth Ennis and art by Joran Parlov. Next, the Irredeemable Ant. Oh my God, the glare. The Irredeemable Ant-Man #8. Written by Robert Kirkman, art by Cory Walker. I got this for 90 cents. I've been really trying to piece this Ant-Man series together. I've not heard really that much of, I've not really heard that many good things about it. However, the writer being Robert Kirkman, I feel like there just has to be something I will like about it. Robert Kirkman, to those who don't know, created both The Walking Dead and Invincible. And he had this Ant-Man run that wasn't Scott Lang or Hank Pym. His name's Eric O'Grady, and I heard he is a real piece of shit. In fact, the above the title is the world's most unlikable superhero, the Irredeemable Ant-Man. And I've been wanting to get into more Ant-Man books. I just don't know of any really good reads for him. Could be a character I really try to collect a lot of. Just seems like a lot of his series only came out because of the movies. They just seem kind of cookie cutter. So I've been kind of stagnant on collecting a lot of Ant-Man, but this is one that I started collecting because I just couldn't pass it up with Robert Kirkman being involved. And yeah, that's Irredeemable Ant-Man #8. Next, Last Hero Standing #2. I'm pretty sure this connects with another series called Last Planet Standing, which is the reason I bought this, is because I thought it was Last Planet Standing, which is a kind of a Galactus-centric run from what I know of it, at least from the covers. That's what I gathered about it. But either way, if it's a follow-up, maybe Galactus is still involved. This is written by Tom DeFalco and art by Pat Olaf. And I paid 75 cents for this issue. And this issue, Thor slamming his hammer down on the cover. Pretty cool cover. But not much else to say other than that. Next, something I was really excited to find. Machine Man, the Living Robot, #8. #8 is written and drawn by Jack Kirby, the GOAT himself. Jack Kirby is one of my top 10 favorite artists of all time, for a good reason. Some people say his style is outdated, but they don't say that about Mike Allred, who is arguably like a more dynamic Jack Kirby. But you can, I mean, all of his influence comes from, or for the most part, comes from Jack Kirby. Same with like Mike Magnolia. Jack Kirby is a real reason why the comic industry or Marvel Comics took off to begin with. Really great creator. If you don't know anything about him, look him up. It's very much worth looking up anything you can. Yeah. Sorry, I blanked. I was going on about something. I completely forgot. That's number 8. And then number 13, Zandu. Who I don't know who that is. But this one is written by Mark Wolfman, and the art is by Steve Ditko. So Steve Ditko is another one of the 2 big artists from the start of Marvel. It was pretty much the 2 biggest ones were Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko. Steve Ditko co-created Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. Really another one of those powerhouse creators. I don't like Ditko as much as Jack Kirby's art. Like, if you put them side by side, I just like this more. But I know he's a legendary comic artist, so not trying to bash him or anything. Just prefer Jack Kirby a little more. But Machine Man number 13. Next, my favorite Marvel character of all time, Moon Knight. Hi Strangers number 3. Written by Doug Moench, art by Mark Texeira. This was the very last issue of this series that I needed, so I was super happy to complete this mini-series. I have been searching for these for so long, and it just seems like this year they all showed up out of nowhere. I got several issues from the Dragon Con for pretty cheap, and then I found one of the other issues at, I believe, one of the comic stores in Chattanooga. I'm blanking. My brain's fried, guys. I just got off of work. But paid $3.50 for this. Well worth it. I mean, Moon Knight's my favorite character. It's the last one I needed. Of course, I was going to buy it. So, super happy to find that. Moon Knight, Hi Strangers number 3. And then we have New X-Men number 120. All of these written by Grant Morrison. Art for number 120 is by Igor Corday. I've heard a lot of great stuff about this series. I really want to kind of dive into X-Men, but don't know the best places to start. I've heard many different answers, so I've just been collecting those. And when I find these for really cheap, I pick them up. These were all just 90 cents a piece, so that's a good enough price for me. Then we got number 125, featuring Beak. Don't know anything about Beak. I'm pretty sure he is not powerful at all, but a lot of people seem to really like this character. Don't know the full extent of why, but I'm willing to find out. Art on this one is also done by Igor Corday. New X-Men number 125. And then New X-Men number 131 with an Emma Frost cover stepping out of a limo, being all bougie and shit. This one's art is by John Paul Leon. But yeah, really wanting to read this when I can. The earlier issues are more expensive than the rest. Don't really want to pay that for them. I did pay way too much for the first appearance of Phantom X, a copy of which wasn't even that great. But Phantom X is a really, really cool character, so at least I have it. I'm looking to find it for cheap someday in like the dollar bin or something one day. Another key in this is the first appearance of Kid Omega. I'm really trying to find that issue as well. Kid Omega is also just a really cool character, or Quit Inquire, whatever you want to call him. And then finally for the new X-Men, number 132, the giant Magneto statue. Looks like whoever's using their powers down there is picking his nose. This one is done by Phil Jimenez. So, another really great find. Next, Scream, Curse of Carnage, number 4. Really like Scream as a character. Did not like how they did Scream in Spider-Man 2, the video game. But everyone gets to do their own takes of characters. I think I'd rather have that than... Well, I don't know. I'd rather them be faithful to the comic, but it's not too mad when people try something new. Sometimes it really pays off. Just didn't think it really did with Scream in that game. But this is written by Clay McLeod Chapman and art by Gary Brown and Chris Mooneyham. So, Scream, Curse of Carnage, number 4. Her design is so cool, by the way. That's not how it usually looks, because I think this is during the Absolute Carnage run. But either way, when I find anything involving Scream, I pick it up if it's cheap, which it usually is, honestly. Next, the Silver Surfer Warlock Resurrection, number 1. Both of these are written and drawn by Jim Starlin, a creator I'm really starting to love because of his Adam Warlock stuff. So anything with his name and Warlock in it, I'm going to get. I feel like also if I read any other writer that's done an Adam Warlock story, it's going to be hard because Jim Starlin just, I guess because it's my first introduction to that character, really, besides the Guardians movie. But I don't know if I can see anyone getting the voice of Adam Warlock as right as he did at the beginning. This was another one that was with another comic, as I mentioned earlier. Not the one I showed off already, but number 2. So I got issues 1 and 2 for just 90 cents. No, actually 75 cents. Great price for 2 comics, if you ask me. Really can't get any better than that. And Silver Surfer is another one of those characters I'm trying to get into. And I'm sure Jim Starlin will be the way I want to get into it. And that is Silver Surfer Warlock Resurrection. Next, Star Masters, number 3. Written by Mark Grunwald, art by Scott Eaton. I collect this series just because Better Ray Bill is a member. So obviously going to be excited when I find these issues. I got this comic with the Cosmic Powers Unlimited. This is the other one that I was kind of referencing to be later on in the video for 90 cents. And the best part about that all is this is the last issue I needed of this series. So now I can just sit down and fully read it. It's just like 4 issues, but still excited to now fully experience the whole book. Then next, Strange Academy, number 9. Written by Scotty Young, art by Humberto Ramos. I love Scotty Young's art. He's primarily known for his art, but I think his writing is better personally. And don't get me wrong, I love Scotty Young's art, but I like his writing even more. Quite a bit more, actually. I've been fucking dying to read this series. It just seems right up my alley. It seems really cool. It got really popular, so the first issue is like $100, which honestly would probably be willing to pay if I ever found one. But the other issues are also just really, those earlier issues are hard to find. And this is one of the ones I didn't have. So I bought it for more than what I usually pay for comics at a McKay's. I paid $2.75 for it, but that's better than price than buying it new, which I had no idea about this series when it was new. So no loss there. Next, Thunderbolts number 112, written by Warren Ellis, art by Mike Deodato Jr. Paid 75 cents for this. I've always thought Thunderbolts were a cool team. Another one of those teams where I need a good jumping on point for. I'm collecting like volume 2 that has the Punisher, Elektra, Deadpool, Red Hulk, Ghost Rider in it. So that's a really cool team. Mainly was collecting that because of Deadpool. And I think it's either the most recent or the one before the most recent Thunderbolts miniseries led by Hawkeye. Really, really, really liked that series when it was coming out. So the reason I'm getting these later issues is because this is part of the Warren Ellis run. And I like Warren Ellis a lot because his very few issues of Moon Knight that he did later on, I think from volume 5, just blew me away. It's one of my, I usually count stories as like a whole. I'm willing to separate that one from the rest of the series because it's such a drop off after that issue that I would personally like to just consider it the Warren Ellis run in its entirety. But really excited to what he can bring to the Thunderbolts. And Thunderbolts number 112. Next, Warlock, Volume 2, written and drawn, number 1, written and drawn by Tom Lyle. I paid 75 cents for each of these issues. Another single creator book on our hands. He is just becoming such a cool character to me. I really, really, really am thinking I'm going to, like I said, a character collect. Once I start liking a character, I get all of his series and I read all of it. His design isn't even like part of the reason I like him. He's not my favorite design, but it's growing on me every day. I'm liking it more and more every time I read a little bit more Adam Warlock. His design in Marvel Rivals is peak. I think his design is awesome. How it fades from black to yellow. It looks really good. But got these, I already said that. We got them for 75 cents in case you missed it. Really cool cover on that one too. And then number 3. And again, not written by Jim Starlin, but this is the one I was like, let's see how another person writes Adam Warlock. Going against Drax, which I kind of looked through the first issue of this miniseries and spoiled that is not Drax, it's a ruse. Though that is in the first issue that's revealed, so maybe that is the real Drax, unless they just carry that plot line along for the whole miniseries, which is very likely, but I'm holding on to hope that there's more than just one threat in this book. But that is Warlock, Volume 2, number 3. Next, some Warlock in the Infinity Watch by Jim Starlin. This is the main series that I'm reading right now, really trying to collect all of it. I've made a lot of progress recently. I've been finding them everywhere for really cheap. This one is one of the ones that's eluded me. I can now read past issue 10, or 10 and past, for a while until it gets kind of to the later issues in the series. I was missing 12 as well, but guess what? I got number 12. Drax pointing at his own daughter, Moondragon, who's wearing very skimpy clothing, but has a bald head. and Pip being a little shit like he usually is, and Adam Warlock being disappointed like he sometimes is. I got these for, well, I got number 10 for $1.25 and number 12 for 75 cents. Also, number 10, back to this other issue for a moment, drawn by Angel Medina, who I love their artwork now, or his artwork. Definitely going to be looking at more of his stuff to get more of a feel for him, because what he does in this book is nothing short of spectacular. And then the art for this one is by Tom Rainey. Warlock in the Infinity Watch, number 12. Next, X Factor, number 72 from Volume 1. X Factor is, well, if you watch my last haul or any of my videos where the name Peter David is ever mentioned, you can tell that I'm a huge diehard fan. Like, probably my favorite Marvel book of all time is X-Men Volume 3, which I thought was the only thing Peter David wrote under X Factor. And then, out of nowhere, I figured out Volume 1 has so many more issues written by him that I had no clue of, which hurt my wallet, but definitely excited me to read more after I'm done with his Volume 3. Kind of to go back and read the older parts of it. So, super excited to find that. And then number 86, Apocalypse and Archangel on the cover. I think that's Professor X in the chair right there. Could not be, though. But X Factor number 86. Did I even... Oh, the art for number 72 was by Larry Stroman. I paid 90 cents each for these, so really cheap. And this one, I need to mention that the art is by Jay Lee. This is early Jay Lee art. I would never have been able to tell just from looking at the cover, but when I was doing my research and found that out, I was like, that is so cool. I can't wait to really kind of deeply analyze his old artwork. So that is going to be a fun day when I find the time to do that. But X Factor number 86. Next, super excited to find these. Ecstatics number 5. I got quite a few of them here. I paid for most of these, besides one, I paid 75 cents for this. And for every other issue but this one, the artwork is done by Mike Allred, one of my favorites, one of my favorite artists. For this issue, that was Paul Pope, and the whole series is written by Peter Milligan. Very much worth paying so cheaply for. I am not talking right today, but oh well. Once you're this far into the video, you just kind of have to say fuck it, continue on. But kind of a nice chase of pace in the art. I do think this guy's art looks really good. It fits the Ecstatic team really well, and have been dying to fully read this run. But Ecstatics number 5. Number 6, Orphan Getting His Shit Rocked by the guy whose name I never remember. That's number 6. Number 8, which this one is the only one I paid more than 75 cents for. I paid $1.75 because just any issue with this I don't have at this point. I'm willing to go up a little bit. Great cover here. I really like that cover. Maybe it's just like the trippiness of it. I also just, this girl's design is so good. I love her design. But Ecstatics number 8. Hopefully she doesn't die a brutal death like most Ecstatic characters do. Then we have Giant Size Ecstatics, number 1. It's really confusing when you're collecting the series, because on Key Collector and CLZ, Giant Size Ecstatics is the name of issue number 1 from the Ecstatics run, and I had that book thinking I just didn't have number 1 for so long, and then I looked on there and I was like, I do have number 1, but it's called Giant Size Ecstatics. I didn't think it was the start of an ongoing run. And this is the second Giant Size Ecstatics book, an actual one-shot. So, really cool to find this one as well. Got Dead Girl right there. Another... That could not be Dead Girl. No, it's not. The girl in the white was Dead Girl. Speaking of which, Ecstatics presents Dead Girl, an actual spin-off of Ecstatics. It's really cool. There's a lot of heroes and villains in the back of this. I noticed Union Jack immediately, and I was like, man, that's such a fun little Where's Waldo of characters that you can look through. They might be dead characters, honestly, because I'm seeing some people who I know have died in the comics and kind of come back before. But this is written by Peter Milligan yet again. Art, though, by both Mike Allred and Nick Dragata. I paid $1.75 for this, and I think it was well worth it. Ecstatics presents Dead Girl, number 1. Then finally, last issue. 4, obviously from the Fantastic Four, written by Roberto Aguirre Cercosa, art by Steve McNiven. Paid just 75 cents for this. I don't even know if I'll like this creative team or like this series, but one time I just bought a lot of these. I'm not sure why. And then, I mean, I love the Fantastic Four, but I didn't know the creative team or anything. And now that I have those issues, I'm like, well, now when I find them for cheap, I have to get the other ones too. But, cool to find that. But that will do it, guys. That's the video for today. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment down at the bottom what you guys are collecting right now. And make sure to like and subscribe so you can see more of my videos. See you later. Bye.